Your postcard is stamped Castle Cornet in St Peter Port Parish, the island of Guernsey, in the Channel Islands. That's your postcard today. Castle Cornet or Castle Cornet?
Well, I like the French accent there, but no, we just call it Castle Cornet. Yes. How it got Castle Cornet, we don't know. I have seen on old maps that this rocky island, before there was a castle here, was called Cornet Rock. I have my own personal theory that because the rock went up a bit like that and because of the shape, it may have looked like a French cornet hat. So you might have been a little bit closer than you think.
The old cornet.
Yes, yeah.
I tell you what surprises me, Dave. I didn't realise castles on this island went back, I mean, as far as medieval times. I don't know why I didn't think that, but I just got it in my head this was an Elizabethan castle.
Ah, yeah, some of it is. Because what we've got here is two castles.
Ah.
We're in the medieval one that was started in 1203 under the influence of King John. That was Wicked King John, you know, Robin Hood and all that sort of thing.
So they say.
So they say,
We
yes.
have another theory about King
Righto,
John.
Yes. Well, King John sort of appointed this castle to be built 1204, and then when we got to the era of gunpowder and shot, and the castle needed fortifying because a medieval castle wouldn't cope with all that, they actually built around the outside in Elizabethan Tudor times. So you've got two for the price of one, Russell. Elizabethan Tudor, and you've got medieval.
So tell us about the reason they chose here. Just a very good foundation with all that rock?
Yes, yes, there was this rocky island, but we've got to think of why King John wanted a castle here. There were the trade routes, the shipping trade routes coming down past, and sailors in those days used to hug the coastline. So therefore, when he lost his possessions in France, they could slip through the channel between the islands out here and also call into the port of St Peter Port. The other thing as well, he appointed a governor to rule over the island. You have a man like a governor, he's got to live somewhere special. What do? You build him a castle.
Oh, right.
So here it is. The medieval castle built for the governor at that time.
And later on he moved into old Government House, did he?
Well, that was after the explosion, you see,
Right.
because in the course of history they made the mistake of storing all their gunpowder at the base of the tower, and in 1672 it was struck by lightning and the tower blew to smithereens. That was what we would call a keep at the top of the castle. And after that time, the governor lived on Guernsey, and they built him a special building over there called the OGH, which is now the Old Government House Hotel.
So from King John we go to good Queen Bess.
Yes.
Why did she feel it was necessary to reinforce this castle?
Because of the proximity of the French. There's no doubt about it. The Channel Islands have always been an attractive sort of element to the French, and they were sort of smugglers and privateers and things like that, and therefore it was felt that the castle would need to be fortified accordingly, according to gunpowder and shot. Now, the governor at the time who actually sort of built the outside edge was really very, very clever, because his name was Sir Philip Layton. And what he decided to do is when he built the entrance, he reasoned that it could just so happen that Guernsey and the castle might one day be at war with each other. And they were during the Civil War.
Civil War? So Oliver Cromwell even reached down here?
Well, yes. I'm not saying that Oliver Cromwell came down here, but it's an interesting part in the Channel Islands because the castle obviously was royalist because the governor lived inside the castle. Guernsey thought Cromwell was top dog, and they supported Cromwell. So the two islands, Guernsey, Castle Cornet, were at war with each other. But Jersey, no, they were royalists as well. And so food used to be sneaked in to the castle during the course of the Civil War, during the time that they were just besieged in here.
So after Cromwell, what happened then?
Well, after Cromwell, once the king was restored, we had a prisoner, Major General Sir John Lambert, who was Oliver Cromwell's second in command. He was imprisoned within inside the castle for a period of 7 years. He was banished for his activities during the Civil War. He came here with his wife and his daughter. He showed himself to be extremely keen in gardening, and he gardened because he liked the medicinal side of the plants. And so what he did, he set up a little garden within inside the castle. I suppose he helped with the local sort of herbalist treatments. Unfortunately for Lambert, while he was down here, you know, it was like being on holiday, I suppose, really, a nice sort of place to be. Although he was a prisoner, he painted and he did embroidery, as well as his gardening, and secretly his daughter fell in love with the governor's son. When that was discovered, that could not be allowed to carry on, you know, a traitor's daughter and the governor's son, and so he was taken to Drake's Island in Plymouth Sound, and it was not so ambient as Guernsey, and he died after about 15 months. So that's what happened to Lambert. And then since those times, the castle's always been occupied to a certain extent, because when we come into Napoleonic times, of course, once again, the French, dare I say the French again, but then it was, there were a lot of soldiers here during Napoleonic times. Quite intriguing from during Napoleonic times that a lot of the troops here were from what were called the invalid companies, and they were not quite sound men. They'd done their bit for king and country, and they'd got wounded. They must have been perhaps missing a bit of an arm or an eye or a leg, and so they were stationed in the castle.
Really?
And so they could look after the castle. And we think that possibly there were, at one stage, there might have been between 250 and 300 soldiers in the castle. And you might think, well, what's the point of that? But just imagine somebody approaching from the distance and they're sighting up the island through a telescope, and you just sort of get all the men, put their uniforms on and rush to the battlements. Through a telescope, you can't see if they're standing there on a wooden leg or if they've got an ear missing or something like that. And so I expect they sailed away again.
What about when the Germans came with the notorious occupation of Guernsey?
Right, well, yes, they made their influence as well. And so you can see that round the castle, because you can then see stuff built out of concrete. The ugly German concrete that's weathered since those times, but it stood the test of time. And it shows the historical development of the castle. And so in various places you're going to see gun positions, machine gun posts, there's an underground air raid shelter, and that is German. And when you go to the south part of the castle, it's wonderful area for viewing, because from there you can look at the castle and you can see the initial rock that it was built on, and the medieval walls and the Georgian extensions and the concrete from the German gun positions right at the very top. It sort of shows everything.
I noticed you've got Elizabeth II's coat of arms as well.
Mm-hmm.
She must have popped along, did she?
She came in 1957. I was a mere youth of 17 when
Were you
she
really?
came. Yes, I was, yes.
See, all that walking around, good for your health.
Absolutely, yes. So she came and we put that sort of coat of arms for her. But had you noticed when you came into the castle above the main gate, a coat of arms there? That's Queen Elizabeth I's coat of arms.
Brilliant, really.
It's very, very well worn, as you could expect.
Very rare, because Cromwell normally knocked all of those kind of things out of the way. He knocked, those old ruins about a bit.
That's right. Oh, he did. He did.
And you've got this Queen Elizabeth I coat of arms. I didn't see that. And I'll tell you why, because as I was marching along, I saw the gun getting ready to be fired.
Oh, it's the noonday gun, yes.
And thereby hangs another tale. Let's just walk along here and go and have a look also at St. Peter Paul.
Yes, certainly.
Now we've come up to this, well, it's actually a beautiful view of St. Peter Paul.
Absolutely, yes.
So where are we here?
Well, we're at the site of the donjon. Remember I mentioned about there was an explosion?
Yeah.
And the donjon would have been up here. A lovely, huge keep. And attached to the side of this keep would have been a smaller tower, which would have housed the spiral staircase.
Now, you remember I was saying how I didn't see Elizabeth I's coat of arms.
Yes.
Because I could see in the distance this cannon.
Yes.
And this man dressed all in red.
Oh, yes, yes.
And he was about to explode. Well, I was.
Yes.
Or the gun was. One of us was. What is that dating back to? Is that Georgian stuff?
Probably so. It's just something that's been dreamed up over the last few years because it's a great tourist attraction. It fits in nicely with the castle, and so when the castle is open between April the 1st and October the 31st, we fire a noonday gun every single day. I think when the troops were inside here, I'm sure there must have been a time when they fired the noonday gun, because thinking about it now, they used to fire the noonday gun not by a stopwatch on their wrist. What they used to do, they had two men doing it. Now we do it with one man, and it's a bit more, shall we say, updated, but they used to have two men would march out, one man with a telescope, and the man on the telescope would actually look towards St. Peter Port, the town over there.
Yes.
See the town church? It's got a clock, so he would view the clock and would give the order to fire when it clicked up to midday. And so that would have happened in Georgian times, certainly. And we've just sort of picked it up and carried on running with it.
Cannon loaded, cannon ready, cannon fire!